Ghost Puppy, written by English by Stories. For more weekly original stories, like and subscribe to this channel using the link in the description. 2 months old. He was only 2 months old, John said. It's not okay. We were going to have so much fun together, he continued. Janet put a hand on his shoulder and gently patted him. She was trying to make him feel better. I know, she said. But now he is in a better place. He can watch over you from the sky. I know. He is in a good place. I just wish it didn't have to be so soon. I have no girlfriend, and now I have no pet dog either. Everything just happened so fast. John continued to cry over the loss of his new puppy. A few hours later, he decided to go home. He broke up with his girlfriend recently. He decided to get a new puppy to have a friend. However, a few weeks after bringing his new dog home, Chewy was attacked by a much larger dog. Chewy would not run. Chewy got badly injured. He did not recover. While walking home, John was thinking about Chewy a lot. He could still hear his bark in his head. It was like Chewy had never died. This is what he thought, anyway. The barking in his head suddenly grew louder. Then it became quiet again. The barking didn't stop like John thought it would. John looked around, looking for the noise. He couldn't see anything. It sounded like it was just down the street in front of him. It may not be his puppy, but seeing the happiness of another dog might help him feel better. He started searching for the noise. He continued walking for a few moments. The barking stopped. He searched for the dog, but there was nothing. He gave up and decided to go home for the night. He turned around to begin making the short trip home. Suddenly, he heard a loud crash. He looked up and saw that a car had left the road. It ran into the light post where he was standing earlier. He quickly ran over to the driver. He checked to make sure they were okay. After waiting and talking to the police, he quickly went home and went to bed. The next few days, John continued to be sad. The pain lessened over time, but it didn't completely go away. 2 weeks later, John was sitting at his desk at work. He began to hear barking. He looked up, confused. He worked in an office. There weren't any dogs here. He looked around, checking to see if anyone else heard the noise. Nope, just him. He stood up and began to follow the noise. He followed it through the door and down 4 floors until he was outside. The barking stopped. Confused, he stood on the sidewalk for a minute. He ignored it and opened the door to go back inside. As he stepped through the door, the fire alarm rang. There was a fire on the 6th floor, just above his workspace. He stared at the building, confused. He remembered the car crash a few weeks ago. He heard barking then, too. Was it saving him somehow? John waited for the barking to start again. Weeks passed and turned into months. Nothing. One day, he was waiting for the bus at the bus stop near his house. The barking began. It sounded close. He immediately began to dash towards the sound. It grew louder and louder as he went towards some bushes. John jumped over the bushes and searched around. The loud barking was louder and closer than ever. Suddenly, he felt the wind brush against his ankles. He looked down to see a small, ghostly puppy rubbing against his leg. Brake screamed in the background before turning into the crashing sound of metal. John ignored it. Chewy, I don't know how, but it is you. You've been calling to me and protecting me, he said as he knelt down to look at the ghostly shape. Chewie looked up at him and let out an excited bark before running circles around John's feet. John finally looked back at the crash behind him. He saw 2 people yelling, and 2 cars were damaged on the side of the road. He looked back at Chewie and gratefully said, "Thank you for keeping me safe, even after dying," before walking away. Chewie bent his front legs, let out 2 happy barks, and followed John.